Hello and welcome to WarrenThornton.com or Warren Thornton on Patreon. Hello and welcome to WarrenThornton.com. Come and find us on Patreon. I am pleased to welcome to the show tonight journalist Gordon Dimmock. Good evening, Gordon. How the devil are we?
I'm very well, Warren. How are you, mate?
It's been a long time since we've seen you, buddy. It's lovely to have you back here and lovely to have you as part of the show. Welcome. And of course, from all our viewers as well, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know you're an extremely busy man. You've just been away on holiday, I believe.
Yeah, I got caught up on the way back in India just as this all started. So yeah, it took an extra 12 days for me to get back because I was in India, not in Qatar or any of the airports that got hit. But yeah, it was kind of amazing arriving in India to screens with death and destruction and fire, and then jumping on a plane that was literally going to be heading in that general direction.
Yes.
And being on the runway when they said, "No, this plane's cancelled because of the war. You're going to have to go back."
Wow.
2 days later, I had to go back to Thailand, which it was awful. My lobster was too juicy, and my my steak was too buttery. But yeah, I've got back, and yeah, it's all fine now. It's all ended, isn't it? Trump said it was finished a few days ago, so that's it. It's all done with, right, Warren?
Yeah, apparently so, according to them. I'm not so sure myself. Let's get into our first category then. We've got a top 10 because we haven't seen you in a while. We've got a top 10 of questions to ask you. Let's have a look at the category and see where we're going around the world. So, as based, we're going to start with the Iran-USA war. Gordon, your thoughts on this? Because, of course, America decided that they were going to go and bomb Iran again. And, of course, there seems to be no end to this war in sight, even though Trump and America are the propaganda that this is all over and done with is off the charts.
The first thing that comes to my mind about this one is the reason for them doing it. So the reason for them going to war essentially is we bombed Iran because otherwise we were going to bomb Iran. That seems to be their reasoning behind it. We went to war with Iran because we were going to go to war with Iran. That's essentially what they they reasoned here. As to the reason that they're doing it. There's no weapons of mass destruction. There's no, they're going to get a nuclear weapon. You told us 6-8 months ago that you'd obliterated their nuclear weapons capabilities, and any news otherwise was fake news, and that's still up on the White House website now. So first of all, the reasoning for going to war with them is not really there this time, and second of all, the way it's being done is really quite. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's surprising to me. If they really thought that they could kill the Muslim version of the Pope, and then that would be it, and Iran would fall immediately if they did that, then I don't really think that they have a clue as to anything in the Middle East, let alone Iran. This obviously was going to spark off some sort of religious war in the region, which it has. And I find it interesting that America have done this, and America have instigated this along with Israel, but they're basically the same entity at this point. Um, and they've done it and then left the Gulf countries basically exposed. Um, and the whole reason for them being in the Middle East in the first place was to protect these Gulf countries. It's like, well,
Yes.
you're not just protecting the Gulf countries, you're actually endangering them now just by being there, because the whole reason for this attack on your bases in these Gulf countries is because you're there in the first place. And the reason you're there in the first place is to protect these Gulf countries who you're not now protecting. And the first time of trouble, you're up and you've left these bases basically pretty much unattended, and these Gulf countries exposed. And obviously, they're going after these Gulf countries. They're not attacking Saudi Arabia or Qatar because they're going to be for them. No, these Gulf countries prop up America through the petrodollar. So this asymmetrical warfare that Iran has had 40 years to prepare to do, Warren, it
Yeah.
seems to me that it was. I mean, look at the people who are running the show now in America. It's quite, Marco Rubio and Donald Trump and Hegseth, and these are not the sharpest tools in the box.
No.
And you can see here that they have been told something, that this would be all over in 3 or 4 days. And it obviously is not going to be over anytime soon. They've sparked off a wider regional conflict here that you and I would have known that this is exactly the way it would have gone down. And
Yeah.
they've put all their troops in harm's way at the same time, because literally every ship, you just talked about the one aircraft carrier, literally every ship is a sitting duck right now and
Really.
could be taken out at any time with one of these hypersonics. But yeah, that's how I feel. I feel as if it's a big distraction from the Epstein files, isn't it? That's the only reason that they've launched this, because militarily, there's no real reasoning behind it whatsoever, and certainly not tactics wise.
No, tactically wise, they're all over the place. This was my first thought on it was, first of all, I've always thought it was about trying to overthrow the government, get rid of the Ayatollah, and put in, their patsy, which is Pahlavi, who nobody wants. And the moment he sets foot in the country, they'll probably have him hanging from a lamppost. But the problem that I have with this is Israel have basically said we're going to go in, and Trump, of course, once you take 200 million from the Israelis, there's going to be something behind it where they want their pound of flesh. The problem that I have, and it is a massive problem for me, is we've had regime change, we've had nuclear, we've had the Hezbollah and everything. They're behind all these organisations and everything else, and the amount of nonsense that's come out. And for me, the moment they bombed 160 children on the very first day, any should we say, anybody sort of on the fence was no longer on the fence. That was it. It was, you killed 160 children. Israel have been doing this in Gaza for literally a couple of years. And for me, this whole thing is an utter disaster. This is Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. It is the same playbook. Go in, not know what you're doing in the Middle East because you don't have a clue about the Middle East, nor do you care. This is about overthrowing the government, getting control of the resources, and at the same time trying to hurt Russia and Japan by taking away one of their allies. And the thing for me, Gordon, is we keep hearing, don't we, about all this, we're doing this and we're doing this. This isn't. But Trump has, war on Iran has sort of morphed into a full-blown escalation trap with no easy exit. So Iran has turned the Straits of Hormuz into a massive checkpoint and everything else. So that's going to be a major problem for them. And the Iran is almost waging the perfect asymmetric war, as you called it. It's absorbing attacks, strategically rendering the surrounding bases unusable, destroying the radar, taking away their eyes and ears, maintaining the control of the Straits of Hormuz, while maintaining all its missiles and everything underground, and using the old stock. And now, of course, the missiles are starting to run out for America.
And they're doing it all with drones predominantly that cost around 10 to 50,000 at the top end dollars.
Shaheed 136.
the 10 to 50,000 to make, and they've got, I mean, the tens of thousands of these. You've seen videos of the same as me of these lining up underground, and
Yeah.
it takes between 3 and 9 interceptor missiles to shoot down one of these drones, and these interceptor missiles are $3-4 million each.
Yeah, they are.
So
Yeah.
cost that is just ticking up. Is it's
Yeah.
the asymmetrical warfare it's I mean, they've even come out now and said, the Iranians have, that if you give us information to any troops that are stationed in the Gulf that leads to us finding out where they are, we'll give you $100,000.
Yeah.
This is whoever game planned this out in America, they need firing
Yeah.
really quickly, because they don't. I mean, you and I, we would have looked at this when it happened. I mean, I know I did, and it was like, what the hell? Do they know something I don't? This is
Yeah.
suicide. This is
Yes.
what do they know? I thought, oh, maybe they know something like they did in Venezuela when they were going to kidnap, but
Yeah.
no, they went in the way they went in with both feet, and it's been an unmitigated disaster, to the point now where he's begging his friends to come and bail him out with this mission creep. It's like, oh, you weren't involved, now you're involved fully. Now you're begging NATO countries and your allies to come in and bail you out and open the Strait of Hormuz. And this, I'm sorry, mate, but this is you on your own. This is your mess. You got to
I'd,
clean up your mess, right?
I'd be one of those of what friends do you think you had? So well, as we've mentioned missiles, let's get into our number 2 on the list of the 10. Now, this is the chart of literally the strikes that they're doing. And as you can see, they're now going along at a certain level. The initial strikes, of course, they unleashed a great deal. They're still able to throw in around about 60 drones and about 25 missiles a day. Now, when it comes to the defense air missile systems, I'm just going to run you through this, Gordon, because you may or may not know of the actual figures of the amount of missiles that were available. So very quickly, Lockheed Martin makes PAC-3 interceptors for the system. It boosted its capacity by 1/3 and produced more than 500 missiles last year. 3 years earlier, it was making 300, and by 2027, it plans to have 650 annually. Raytheon also produces missiles for the Patriot system. The company makes little more than 200 PAC-2 missiles. There are 400 THAAD missile systems in operation. The THAAD missile system is currently capable of producing up to 100 missiles a year. And the THAAD has overall total made 1,371 rockets. Now, if you divide that per base, that is within striking distance, which are 14 of them within 1,000 kilometers of Iran, that leaves 4 missiles per day. 30,000 Patriot missiles have been made around the world, and 14 bases, leaving 2,142. This is without any that have been used in Ukraine or other areas or theatres, which would leave the base 5 to 8 missiles per day. And we know they're firing them off like it's the 4th of July. Now, the cost of a THAAD missile system is 23 billion plus 2.4 billion in rockets. The cost of a Patriot system fully loaded is 1.1 billion, and the rockets are 4 million a time. Patriot missile systems, the actual missiles themselves, there's only been 1,100 made since the 1980s, and the THAAD missile system has only had 1,000 missiles since that came online in 2008. Now, they're borrowing them from everywhere, Gordon. They're borrowing them from South Korea. They're taking them off Ukraine. South Korea is totally defenseless. And of course, North Korea then decided they were going to test the missile. You can't say that they don't have a sense of humor. So the idea now is that Taiwan are also going to be pilfered of their defenses. Japan have given over theirs. The nonsense that they're coming out with, we're saying they can sustain this. Now, we've looked at the figures. The Patriots, they've got 6 weeks. The THAAD missile systems are almost out, but they would have if they had all those rockets still left, they would only have 3 months. If you do 6 times 14, if you even them out, 6 times 14, and then times it by the amount of days they would need to keep firing, they run out very, very quickly, Gordon.
Especially when they're blind, because essentially, you know, Iran have hit the THAAD radar systems,
Yeah.
billion-dollar systems, and they think that is it 6 of the 10 systems they've destroyed now in the area.
It's
So
now 8 of the 10.
So you know, an interceptor missile, a THAAD missile, which is designed for defense, is great. But if it's blind and it can't see what it's hitting, and you know, it needs these radars to be accurate, then not only is it going to be running out of missiles, it's also going to be ineffective when they do fire them off to try and defend against these drones, which are not slowing down. Iran have already launched more missiles than the United States thought that they had, and they're not slowing down anytime soon. This is a disaster for them. It really is.
It absolutely is, and of course, I don't know whether you're buying this, but of course we've had this is part of the drone down. And of course, they're firing more and more of these as you go along. But the F-15s are dropping out of the sky like there's no tomorrow. The KC tanker we know full well was hit by a missile because we've had that confirmed. But the F-15s.
لا والله حربية طيارة حربية طيارة حربية شوف 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 شوف
Are you buying 6 friendly fire incidents, Gordon? 7 if you count the KC-135s?
Yeah, they're all just mistakes and friendly fire, aren't they? There's no shooting from the Iranians has caused this. It's all friendly fire. I mean, I don't buy that at all. I mean, even the United States, with how incompetent they are, is not that incompetent to have like every single mission failure that they've got down to human error. They're, I would have thought right now they're also fatigued, the men themselves as well. So human error will come into it, of course, but I don't buy this that it's all friendly fire incidents and and human error and mechanical error at all. These are being shot out the sky, at least half of them, surely.
Yeah, and we know that the KC 135 was actually taken down by Iranian 395 missile. We've had it confirmed by an expert and somebody at the White House. Well, not at the White House, sorry, at the Pentagon. So there's that. And of course, they've just launched their. There's a lot of information war out there and everything else. One of the things that has sort of caught my eye, and it's hilarious, and we knew that it was going to happen, but let's have a little look.
Row, row, row your boat gently down. Merrily, 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 that is me.
Row, row your boat gently down the stream. Row, row your boat gently down.
Come on, stop. I know how it feel to wake up, fucked up, pockets broke, hell of a... Why nobody helps me to open Hormuz?
There we go. Everybody is walking away. Trump did make the threat, the veiled threat, that it won't go well for NATO if you don't come and help me. The sort of thing, I don't know about you, but when I looked at that, I basically, let's have a listen to Caroline Leavitt.
President Trump says that other countries should now step up to safeguard ships in the Straits of Hormuz. Why should other countries that weren't consulted about this war, that aren't involved in this war, now put their troops in harm's way in the Strait of Hormuz?
Because these other countries are benefiting greatly from the United States military taking out the threat of Iran. The rogue Iranian regime has long not just posed a threat to the United States of America, but of course to our Gulf and Arab partners in the region. As you see, I believe Iran has struck more than 300 civilian targets in the Gulf region. If you think about Europe, their ballistic missile capability that the United States military is currently wiping out was a direct and imminent threat to our European allies as well as our bases in the region, which is why President Trump took this action in the first place. So these countries are absolutely benefiting from ensuring that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. This is something not just the United States, but the entire Western world has agreed with for many, many years. So I think the president is absolutely right to call on these countries to do more to help the United States to reopen the Strait of Hormuz so that we can stop this terrorist regime from restricting the free flow of energy. And the fact that they are doing so just underscores why President Trump needed to take this action in the first place.
There we are. So Caroline Leavitt coming out with absolute rubbish left, right and centre. And of course, the propaganda is off the charts. I'm going to be very, very blunt here, Gordon. We've just taken a shit in your backyard and we'd like you to come and help clean it up.
I'm kind of surprised that she responded like that and not, well, we saved these bitches' asses in World War II. They owe us one. I mean, that's the rhetoric that I hear coming from America right now. And it's like, you're not, every deal that you've made, not just with your enemies, but your allies in the last 20, 30 years, you've reneged upon. You know, you've pulled out the Paris climate deal, I think, 3 times now alone. You know, the ABM missile treaty, the intercontinental ballistic missile treaty, you know, the START treaty. How many treaties have they gone back on? It's like, and now you want to try and drag your allies who you've been slagging off left, right, and centre. Remember, it was 5 minutes ago he was threatening to invade Greenland, a NATO ally. And now he's slagging them off. No, you've got to come in and open this Strait of Hormuz. It's like, you created this mess. You did it. Nobody else. You and Israel created this mess. You've got to live with the consequences. It's not for us to come in and bail you out now. And here's the thing. There is no bailing you out with the Strait of Hormuz. Just think about this, you absolute retard. This strait there is 22 miles long, but that doesn't take the whole story. It's 22 miles. It's like, oh, wow, that's not long and that's not wide at all. No, the shipping lane is 2 miles wide. Yeah. That's all. You've got a concentrated amount of boats there. This is closed. You're not going to open it. If you put ships there, those ships are going to be sunk. Those ships have no defense against hypersonic missiles. They can get hit by drones, by Shahed drones that cost 10 to 50,000. We've seen that. If Iran decide, you know what, I'm going to sink that aircraft carrier, they can. And this is, I've had people say don't talk nonsense. No, I'm telling you, if a hypersonic missile, which is deadly accurate to 10 square meters, 10 square meters, they could literally pick the window in your house to fly it into, right? Yeah. They could, if they want to hit an aircraft carrier with a hypersonic missile, they can. And a hypersonic missile goes 12,000 kilometers an hour. You don't need something to explode going at that speed. It will cut through your aircraft carrier like butter. And you want other people to put their ships in this cauldron that you've created? Right? It's your mess. You tidy it up.
The kinetic, people don't seem to realise that the kinetic energy would destroy it without even exploding. Here's the thing, just before we get to Sean Murphy and Lee Williams, here's the thing that got me, Gordon. I actually had an argument with a gentleman when I was saying these missiles that they've got travel anywhere from Mach 6 to Mach 8. And they said, well, it won't hit the aircraft carrier because it's travelling at 30 knots.
The maneuverability of these missiles is a sight to behold. it almost looks unreal when you see it. There's a couple
Yeah.
of examples,
Turn on the
especially
tick.
from the 12-day war last year. And remember, these are the older hypersonic missiles that they're using. These are the Fatah 2 ballistic and the other hypersonic missile. I forgot what it was now. The newer ones have a maneuverability that, I mean, they can literally play dodge with these interceptors, the way that they can maneuver around. And they, like I say, they will hit a moving target quite easily. And I've had conversations with people who are like, "Oh, Iranian missiles, they'll be shot down by the Iron Dome," and that. No interceptor on this planet can shoot down a ballistic missile. There hasn't not a single hypersonic missile has ever been shot down once it's been launched. Ever.
No, that's very true.
And you are fighting a war against people who have got thousands of them, and you have no defense. I mean, I don't know what page in Sun Tzu's book that's out of, but I haven't read it, mate.
It's here somewhere. I know it is. Hang on, let me skim
I
through it. Sean Murphy, then Lee Williams.
Well, firstly, the problem is there were no missiles, especially hypersonic, when Sun Tzu wrote the Art of War. Secondly, the oil would have been flowing, and it would be flowing now if America and Israel had not started this war and attacked Iran. Iran wasn't about to attack anybody. Whether there were US troops there or not, if they had not been attacked, they would not have attacked anybody and the oil would still be flowing. So it is actually Trump's fault, or America and Israel's fault, that it's not flowing. It's not Iran's fault. Iran are just reacting to a situation where they were unjustly attacked.
Careful, Sean. He'll want you to face the electric chair for spreading fake, or shall we say, bad news about America. Steady on there. Lee Williams.
I was just going to say that obviously with the aircraft, they know where the aircraft that's Iran. Hopefully, they don't know where every single submarine is. So have they got any boats that can actually work out exactly where they are and actually take the underground submarines out as well?
They have the Chinese are certainly, with their over the horizon radar, have changed the rules of the game, and of course many of the aircraft carriers and everything else are very much in danger. Eric Jones, and then we'll have a video, and then Gordon can let us know what he thinks of that. Eric Jones.
Yeah, sadly, I think the orange Caligula has lost his damn mind personally. But as an American, I don't really give a damn. They can come after me if they want because they're trying to censor Tucker Carlson and everybody else. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised. But anyhow, these when you discussed, we've been discussing these Carg Island and everything for weeks now, and when they came out with that the other day, I'm sitting to myself and shaking my head, going, "Are these people completely lunatics?" Or I mean, he couldn't have any worse advisors, Warren.
No, I know. I mean, if he wants to have a go at Carg Island, absolutely brilliant. We look forward to that. I mean, that will be the biggest debacle you've ever seen. Nilis, and then we'll have a video.
Right. We know that Russia and China were rearming Iran to a certain extent before this whole thing started off. Is that still going on?
Russia and China are arming Iran. Yeah, they're certainly giving them all sorts of help. That's absolutely sure. So we'll have to see what happens. Just to let you know, by the way, that if they want to have a go at Carg Island or Carg Island, as they say, it's a pretty awful idea. And of course, when we've shown you the maps of the Straits of Hormuz, first of all, you've got to go through it to get it. You're not really going to get over land. We've got a map here of where the B-1, where the bombers are, because they're carpet bombing Iran at the moment as we speak. And they're saying that, of course, this is going to be successful, but it's not. Just to let you know that Carg Island is just up here on the left-hand side, of course. And of course, they'd have to get through the Straits of Hormuz to do it. These are all the Boeing Strato tankers that are refueling over here. they're all out the way because obviously one got taken down. Well, let's have a little video. We're going to have a little bit of George Galloway here, just to show you what he's thinking, which is quite amusing. And of course, there's no question that there is more and more trouble for the Navy carriers. And we're going to get into that next with Gordon.
Navies are obsolete. That much I'm prepared to say. The aircraft carriers of the United States, one of them is limping on its way back to the United States after a suspicious fire in the laundry room. Although, again, if you believe that, I've got a bridge in London, etc. The Abraham Lincoln has left the theatre. The other two aircraft carriers are not within 700 kilometres of the theatre. In fact, no American warship is within 700 kilometres of the theatre of operations, which is distinctly strange if Iran's missiles and launchers and drones are all completely destroyed and demolished, just like their nuclear stockpile was destroyed and demolished in Operation Hammer last year, Trump threatening to sue people who claimed that it hadn't all been destroyed, but they still claim now that they are determined to destroy it. You see where I'm going with this. This is a war based on a pack of lies, and it's going catastrophically badly. And as such, it is bringing about in a truncated, rapidly, massively truncated form, the...
Right, so there we are. That was George Galloway talking about what's going on. Now, let's give you exactly what has gone on with these two carriers, shall we? The first carrier, which is the Gerald Ford. Now, all the carriers were asked to steam away from the area to get to a safer distance. This is the Gerald Ford, so you confuse it with the Abraham Lincoln. This was going through Crete a few days ago, about a week ago. And remember that we were tracking it and everybody was saying, oh, it's in Israel already. And it wasn't. And we were spot on with our naval guys are absolutely bang on. Now, we can 100% confirm, we wanted to make sure we were absolutely right, that the fire that broke out on the USS Abraham Lincoln was because of a drone. But it wasn't a drone attack. Now, what was it? Well, very, very simply, we have this from our source at the Pentagon, that it was decided for all carriers to be moved slightly further away. It was a long-range reconnaissance drone. It was shot down. How it managed to approach the aircraft carrier, and of course, there is video feed of this, but of course, the Iranians are not going to release it for the simple fact they don't want the Americans to know what the drone saw. So the drone was able to hover over literally over the Lincoln, and it was shot down by the US forces. Now, it wasn't a bomb or anything else, and the subsequent fire broke out and the wreckage was cleared. Now, this is from our source in the Pentagon. It's got no reason to lie about this. And the decision was taken then, Gordon, to move the carriers further away because of these long-range reconnaissance drones.
The United States has got a massive 20th century army, but it's an army that's built for the Cold War, not for 21st century war that we're seeing now. These boats, these aircraft carriers, they are a liability. They are a huge sitting duck on the ocean. And the reason they're not involved and they're not in the melee right now is because if they were, they'd be sunk. It's as simple as that. They'd be sunk. You know, these aircraft carriers, it's not like that they have a massive amount of planes, hundreds and hundreds of F-35s on them anyway. No, I mean, even the biggest one, which I think is the Ford, isn't it? That's the new one. I think it's 60 to 80 planes. That's maximum it can have on it at any time. And obviously not all those are operational at the same time. And they've got so many bases in the area, they don't really need them. You know, you can launch planes from bases in the area. You don't really need the aircraft carriers. But these aircraft carriers now, they are pretty much useless in the theatre of war against a country that has hypersonic missiles, because there's no defense against them. Once they're launched, you are in the lap of the gods. If it hits you, you are sunk. And they are a liability, and we're seeing them being moved, and we're also seeing. I've heard that, you know, one of them, the toilets were sabotaged. Was it a few weeks ago? I think the
Yeah,
sailors.
Gerald Ford. Yeah, yeah, on the Gerald Ford.
I think the sailors understand, and the other aircraft carrier, it's the one. I'm not sure whether it's an aircraft carrier or it's a battleship, but it's like it should have been decommissioned years ago. And
Yes.
that's, I mean, that is literally sitting there with a big red flag on at the moment saying, sink me. You know, trying to, it's basically a false flag waiting to happen. This ship shouldn't be there at all. It should have been decommissioned years ago. And they've got it
I think
basically
that's the
sitting.
Gerald Ford itself, Gordon. I think
So,
the Abraham Lincoln is the newer one, and the
Lincoln
Gerald
knew one.
and the Gerald
So,
Ford.
I mean, they're not helping at all, Warren. They're a liability. You and I would have known this beforehand.
Yeah.
I talked about it last year during the 12-day war, and people were saying that I was nuts and I was crazy. Look now, they're not even close to
Well, this
the real action, because if they were, Iran would, they could sink them if they wanted to.
Yeah, of course the military term normally, but in America, in the American Navy now they've got a different term for it. Normally, FOB is forward operating base, and the American Navy are calling their aircraft carriers floating ocean bullseye. Well, when they said what's an FOB, and of course that's caused some merriment between, and that's the Army taking the mickey out of the American Navy. Let's have a little look at this then. That is the Zionist Israeli police force beating the living daylights out of Orthodox Jew anti-Semites, Gordon Dimmock.
It's a sick society, you know. The Zionists are, they're sick. It's a sick society, and you're not just seeing it in Israel, the way they're beating, you know, Orthodox Jews and the way they treat the Christians in Israel, but also we're seeing it in other countries now. They're going abroad, and we're seeing them be absolutely horrible to locals abroad. I remember somebody said a while to me ago, if you want to know why Israelis are so hated, don't go to Israel to see what they're like. Go to their holiday destinations in Southeast Asia and start asking the locals there what they think. And I've just come back from Thailand, and you know, the Thai people are some of the most, I mean, it's called the land of smiles. They're all about, you know, being nice to each other and being tolerant with each other, and they're all about, you know, losing your cool in public is just the biggest social faux pas you can possibly do in Thailand. And they've just had enough. They've had enough of these. You get signs in some places, no Israeli tourists now, because these Israelis are turning up and they're being so disrespectful, and they're being so rude, and they're being so obnoxious and, quite honestly, racist. It's a sick society. I had a guy about 6 months, 8 months ago saying to me, oh, well, you know, Bernie Sanders is right. All we need to do is get rid of Netanyahu. And I'm like, this Netanyahu is, you know, Israel isn't the way it is because Netanyahu is president.
Yeah.
Netanyahu is president because of the way Israel, the way it is. Same as Trump in America. You know, it's a sick society that we've got there. And I don't think that there's any future in it.
No, that's the trouble. And there is, of course, and we've got more and more, should we say, sick and Zionist lunatics. Have a listen to this. It's about 5 or 6 minutes, but you really do need to see this.
Here, the proofs are outside. Everything is in the open. It's very simple. You can read everything. The mere fact of saying that there has been a hospital attack, which has not happened, is a lie. It's a blatant lie. It's Palestinian terrorists propaganda, and the fact that you are repeating this propaganda just shows that this place is a place of lie. This is not a place which is looking for truth, because there is no discussion. It's clear. It's in the open.
Mr. Weidman, are you telling me? Are you telling me there was no? Listen, I'm not going to waste our viewers' time having a shouting match with you. Listen, let's try, Mr. Weidman. Let's try and be respectable here. You are a politician. Let's try and speak like adults. Would you calm down and treat this as an adult would do it?
Do not lie.
So the hospital was not bombed. The hospital was not bombed, Mr. Weidman. The hospital was not bombed.
Was not bombed. There has been, but this was a war crime committed by the Jihad, Islamic Jihad, or the Hamas, which shot a missile from a hospital according to the laws of war, which Russia incidentally also has supposedly signed on. Not that they respect it, because there've been massive.
Russia proposed a peaceful resolution at the United Nations, shot down by America, France, and the usual G7 countries.
You're letting me now finishing? No, I am finishing to say what I want to say.
Speak carefully, speak calmly, Mr. Weidman, then everyone can understand you. Speak like an adult would speak.
No, I'm not calm. I'm not calm.
Carry on.
My people is being slaughtered by Nazis.
Your people are being slaughtered by Nazis. Some might say something similar to what's happening in Ukraine right now against the Russians.
People have been massacred by these terrorists. And
so you said the bombing never happened. All right, Mr. Weidman. Okay, Nazis this, the bombing never happened. Okay, let me ask you this. Why is it then that this bombing has been condemned and accused the president of Egypt, the king of Jordan, the president of Syria, the president of Cuba, the government of Iraq, the Turkish foreign minister, the Venezuelan foreign ministry, the head of the African Union, and the president of Iran have all accused Israel of this strike, and you're telling me the strike never happened? It never happened, Mr. Weidman. It's all a lie. It's all smoke and mirrors, right?
Listen, all the countries you have mentioned, all of them are terrorist countries. Syria,
they're all terrorist countries. Jordan, an American ally, is a terrorist country. Turkey, Venezuela, the African Union.
Freaking people in his country under Russian support. He's a murderer. He's a mass murderer who should be hanged in public like the Nazis have been hanged in public. The fact that these people are the people saying that this has happened exactly shows my points. And if you are not able to understand that, and I get, with all due respect, that I understand you are under Russian payroll, and I understand this is a Russian propaganda, but you have to be very careful, because let me tell you, we're going to finish this war. We're going to win because we're stronger. After this, Russia will pay the price. Believe me, Russia will pay the price. Russia is supporting the enemies of Israel. Russia is supporting Nazi people who want to commit genocide on us, and just Russia will pay the price. Russia also. Now, listen to me very carefully. We are going to finish with these Nazis. We're going to win this war. It's going to take the time it's going to take, but we're going to win this war. Afterwards, we're not forgetting what you are doing. We're not forgetting. We will come. We will make sure that Ukraine wins. We will make sure that you pay the price for what you have done. You as Russia, and you and as all the enemies of Israel, and you as all the people who are now making everything they can to support genocide of the Jews in Israel. We are not forgetting. We are not forgetting. Remember exactly what I'm saying now. You will pay the price.
Amir, I think it's safe to say that this is a very passionate conflict that is happening here.
Well, people have been massacred. My people has been slaughtered by your proxies, and you will pay the price. Is it clear? Believe me,
I don't actually think it is clear.
Very, very, very sternly.
I don't think it is clear, Mr. Weidman, and I would suggest
then it should be
in the
clear.
future,
it should be clear.
as being a politician,
it should be clear to you, because you have to understand that actions have got consequences. And when people support murder of Jews, people pay the price. This is true in Gaza. This is true everywhere else. The time that Jews actually have no power to defend themselves is done, is gone. And people will now have to bear the consequences of them supporting genocidal Nazis who are out to exterminate Jews. What we have seen 10 days ago is not something normal. We have seen these Nazis going out massacring people in the streets, babies, beheading them, older people, women, raping, all these things. You've seen them with your eyes. How can you even dare to support the murderers? I tell you frankly, the public opinion in Israel has changed. We are not now where we were 10 days ago. You have to understand that.
No,
And
the
sooner you
world is
understand, the better it's
changing,
going
and
to be
apparently
for the
much of
supporters
the world, Amir, if I may, thank you. Much of the world is watching on in horror. Meantime, you've got the entire Islamic world that is rallying against what is happening in the Middle East. And I will, with pleasure, invite you back on this program to speak with me about the ongoing conflict, provided you are respectful on this program. Amir Weitman, thank you for your time.
There we go, and he was cut off. Gordon, I think that was reiterating your point there. It's not Netanyahu. This is a sickness that's an Israeli member of parliament there.
Yeah, the rot goes really deep. It's not something that's surface level. It's not just the politicians either. You've seen the videos as well as I have of how the settlers treat the Palestinians on their own land. You know, we can see how they spit on Christians as they're walking past in the street. I've known people who have been to Israel, and every single person I know who's been to Israel has said to me, it is the most racist place on the planet, bar none.
Yes,
And
odd, isn't it? Odd that they're supporting Ukraine, and yet most of the Ukrainian Israelis, or should we say the Zionists, the Chabad Lubavitch, hail from the Ukraine, and Ukraine. You would turn around and say the Ukraine and the Nazis, but basically what Ukraine were doing in the Donbass, trying to literally ethnically cleanse, is the same thing that's going on in Gaza and that they're now doing in the Lebanon.
Yeah, they're just trying to flip the truth on its head. It's like, the Ukrainians who you say are your brothers were fighting with Hitler in World War II.
Yeah.
You know, or am I going to get done for malinformation for saying that?
No, you won't. I mean, of all the countries, they had the most concentration camp guards, the Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, they still have celebrations. All their streets are still named after the Bandera clan. I mean, this goes deep in their society. And like I say, the Israeli problem doesn't go away if you get rid of Netanyahu. The Israeli politicians, as you can see, that's the standard of them. That's not an outlier. They are pretty much all like that. It's a society that I don't think has much of a future.
Yeah, I've got to say, Gordon, I have never known in all my time on the planet, all 64 years of it, I have never known Israel to be so hated by so many people. And the bit that we put up at the start there, anti-Semitism. I mean, first of all, Semites are people, Arab languages, so it's a complete nonsense that they come out with. But the so-called anti-Semite thing, the reason people hate Israel is because of their behaviour, nothing else.
Yeah, and it's they use this anti-Semitism thing as a shield.
Yes.
And people people have educated themselves now, woman. When I first started doing this nearly a decade ago, I was on YouTube, and if you said that Gaza was a concentration camp, you were immediately kicked off. You could barely say that it was an open air prison. And that was just 10 years ago. And there were only fringe people on the outsides who were telling the truth about Israel and Palestine at the time. You had people at the Canary, you had a couple of independent journalists over here, you had the people like John Pilger and such, but they were all at the fringes. These people who were talking about it truthfully were all at the fringes. Now it's mainstream. Now my mom knows all about the sickness in their society. My mom knows all about, oh, okay, so it's the Zionists and not all Jews are Zionists and most Zionists are not Jews and all that sort of thing. Now people are starting to get educated because they've seen these horrible pictures on their screen over the last 2.5 years of babies being killed and starvation and human suffering of a level that we haven't seen since, World War II. And people
Yeah.
have got educated on it. So the problem, the anti-Semitism problem, if you want to blame anybody, blame Netanyahu and the Likud Party and blame Israel itself, because that's the real problem with the anti-Semitism. That's the real problem, because they're doing all these crimes, and then they're saying, oh, if you get criticized, you criticize them, then they're saying, oh, you just hate Jews. So they're using Jews, the Jewish thing, as a shield. It's like, it doesn't work like that anymore. People obviously are aware of what's going on here, and yeah, there's no future in it. The whole point of Israel, it's there. It's a colonial project. It's a colonial settler project. And if nobody wants to go and live in a colonial settler project, it's finished.
No, exactly that. And of course, my favourite thing, I mean, I don't know whether you saw it, but the German defence minister, Boris Pistorius, said that they wouldn't be sending any ships. Now, the reason I burst out laughing is because I have a sort of Monty Python, John Cleese, before he went completely la-la state of mind. And the Germans turned around and said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to send any ships along with anybody else. It's not our war. We didn't start it. And the first thing that went in my head was, yes, you did. You invaded Poland. And of course, it was sort of almost made for comedy, really. But here's where we have a major problem with this, is the behavior of Israel and its people inside is quite incredible. Have a look at this. This is where you get these sort of lunatics. I mean, this is staggering. This was posted by Alexander Dugin. They will need to be killed if they take anti-Israeli position in the war. She said that Israel controls all web cameras in Russia and could easily hit whoever it wants, including Putin. This was on RBC, and this is, of course, somebody take one for the team and give her a good night out with that. It's absolutely incredible that these people come out with such nonsense.
You can see the problem there in society right there. The first impulse when challenged on their position, the first impulse is to attack the other person. You saw it in the interview. You saw it in the interview with RT, how he was like, you personally will regret this. He was threatening him almost like you. And you can see here with this other person, their first instance is to attack the other people, like, what they want, it should be given to us. It's our divine right to have these things, to have everything they want, and screw your feelings if it treads on what you want at all. No, this is very sick society, and you can see it manifesting in these ways. As soon as you challenge them, even slightly, on their worldview, straight away they're attacking you.
Let's have a look at this then, Gordon. So this is the humanitarian corridor that's now been shut down, Gordon. This was a slaughterhouse, basically saying to people, come here, we've got bread for you. And they were herding them in there, and there were American paramilitary companies in there, and I'm going to name them here, Blackwater under a different name, had paramilitary companies in there, and they were slaughtering and shooting for fun. These people who were just trying to get some food because they were being starved. So basically, what they were doing was herding them into a turkey shoot.
Yeah, calling it a humanitarian corridor is about as Orwellian as it gets, right? I mean, this is the Hunger Games level stuff that we're talking about here. This is like, I heard there was one eyewitness account of what there was going on, and it was almost like it's that Squid Game, red light, green light, where you'd run really low, and then there'd be a gunfire, so you'd have to drop to your knees, and then it'd go quiet. So you'd run really quickly, and then be gunfire, and it was basically a live human version of red light, green light that was going on at these humanitarian corridors. There's nothing humanitarian, nothing humane about this at all. What is happening in Gaza is man-made, and Israel and America are doing it. And they're starving them on purpose. You mentioned that school in Iran that was hit on day one.
Yeah,
I think the reason that school was hit was because a lot of those schoolgirls, their fathers were in the IRGC.
Yeah.
And it's a message that they're sending to the commanders here. And you can see that this is a very, very now sick, depraved society, which is lying through its teeth at every opportunity.
I would totally agree with you on that. It is quite staggering. We're always saying, and I've said this for ages, this is part of the bigger picture. Let's have a look at this.
No, there we go.
There we go. So that's the Greater Israel Project, which incorporates bits of Egypt, bits of Syria, bits of Iraq, bits of Saudi Arabia. They're going to be happy with that. They're going to. I mean, that's just the start. And the Gaza Strip, of course, is going to become the playground. My honest belief in this, Gordon, is that the Gaza Strip and the whole of the Middle East eventually will become the rich people's playground. And everybody that is inside of those countries will be shifted into Europe.
It certainly seems to be the plan, doesn't it? I mean, they wear that patch on their arm, don't they? Some of them in the IDF that with the Greater Israel Project. So some people say that the Israel flag is actually the River Nile to the river, is it the Jordan or the Euphrates?
Euphrates, yeah.
So this is clear the plan, and it's important really here. I think nations like Turkey need to really grow a pair, Warren, because Turkey is one of those nations that Israel wants. That Greater Israel Project takes a nice big chunk of Turkey, and if you listen to people like Naftali Bennett and these people, they've already started with the anti-Turkey rhetoric. Turkey's already So all these other Gulf countries around in the area, Jordan and Lebanon and, Syria and Saudi Arabia and all these other Gulf, they need to start Iraq, Iran. They're coming for you next. They're not going to stop with Gaza. They're coming for you next. You are in the firing line. So unless you do something about it now, eventually you're going to be facing something even more powerful that's coming your way, and you will have seen it for years and not done anything about it. You can't take a back seat like you have been doing, like Turkey has been doing, with one foot in either camp. You can only do that for so long. Eventually they're coming after you, Erdogan and Turkey, and you're going to have to choose, I think, pretty quick as to what you're going to do about it. You can't just sit there and do nothing, because they're coming for you.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Got a couple of other things I want to talk about before we get on to the news. Let's have a little look at this bit. So we've got Keir Starmer and Peter Mandelson, who heavily invested with Epstein, and of course we were telling everybody that Starmer knew full well. Our friends, a few friends of ours, shall we say, in Whitehall, decided to chuck Starmer under the bus and said we did give Starmer a dossier that told him that Mandelson was a problem, that he was still friends with Epstein, that he had a very, very uncolourful past, whether that be with West Streeting or Keir Starmer, or all chums together. I think in that certainly people who enjoy a good chum. The Starmer knew. He told everybody that he didn't know that his team had been lied to, and of course he knew all along. I mean, you can't trust anything this guy says, can you?
Of course he knew all along. We knew all along, Warren. We did. Of course, he knew all along. He's got MI5 and MI6 briefing him. Of course, he knew all along, but he chose to do it anyway. Why? Because it's a big club, and you've
Yeah.
got to look after the people in your club. And Mandelson's in that club, and I find it interesting that every excuse that he's made, Mandelson, has ended up being. We found out that it's false. The thing that he said, oh, it's false, and then I cut off contact with him. No, you didn't. Oh, yeah, I did. I did. You were asking him for money at one stage, or he sent him money. Was it £70,000? Come on.
Yeah.
You and I are old enough to know that this. I mean, when he comes out in the 90s, in the he was the agent. He was the age. He was the Darth Knight back then. This is a very shady character. And if you didn't know, then you are, quite frankly, the dumbest and most ill-informed person in this country, and you definitely should be nowhere near the levels of power. And if you did know, as we know you did, then you're a gigantic liar, and you should be nowhere near the levels of power.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that 100%. Let's get into this one, because I've got a theory here, and we published the Epstein list the other day. If you go onto our Patreon, we had somebody who's seen the other documents that nobody else has seen. We've had two sources do that. They don't know each other, and they've independently confirmed 40 odd people who slept with people who were procured by Epstein, and 50 odd people that, of course, were, shall we say, complicit in trying to cover it up. Just in case you didn't know where Epstein Island was, of course, it's in the US Virgin Islands, and it's the smaller of those two those two islands there. There is much to be discussed about Melania Trump, because we have now on very good authority from somebody who's seen the actual Epstein files that we're not allowed to see, that, of course, Melania Trump was very great friends with Ghislaine Maxwell, and basically knew that at 27, really, your modelling career is beginning to come to an end. And of course, she then tipped her hat towards Trump as an older man. Now, nothing wrong in that. Many marriages have been made on that sort of thing. But there is something very, very dark here, because Melania Trump and Donald Trump and everybody else is keep saying move on. They've been protected by Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and many others. Gordon, I've not had a chance to talk to you about the Epstein files. Now, we literally had a 6-month investigation where we took the actual list that were the little black book of Epstein's that was entered into evidence, not the one that was bought on the internet for 1,500 quid. The little black book that was entered into evidence and the flight log, and literally went to our two sources, both not knowing each other, both independent, and both have seen these files. One works for the DOJ and one works elsewhere, and they've seen these files, and we only published, or we only said the names of the people that we knew that both had confirmed. But Melania Trump, Donald Trump, and others like Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, whose girlfriend Alexis Wilkins writes for PragerU, and PragerU as editor-in-chief or CEO, works for the 200 Israelis, or did do, for the Israeli intelligence. There's no question for me that there are links with Israel intelligence, the Rothschilds, the banking system, and of course, you've got Mandelson, you've got Starmer, and in America, you've got absolutely tons of these people. And look how many people have resigned from their posts, like Borger Brenda, the head of the World Economic Forum, Gordon.
Yeah, most of the resignations are coming outside of America as well. It seems that, Larry Summers aside, but all of those happened after the Prince Andrew, the Jeffrey, the Mandelson, the Norwegian. I think a couple of people resigned over in Eastern Europe as well. It only happened after that. the main, I've been talking about about Epstein for, ever since before he was killed. And I've done a lot of research into it. One of the main people that I've researched in the past is Whitney Webb, who has done some brilliant work on the Epstein stuff. It was Whitney Webb, for instance, that I found out that the first person to give Jeffrey Epstein his job at a teacher at a girls' school was Bill Barr's dad.
It
Bill
was,
Barr's
yeah.
dad, Bill Barr, who just happened to be the Attorney General, Trump's Attorney General, when
And
Epstein
Gordon,
was killed in
Bill
prison.
Barr is one of the people that we named as an enabler.
It's so deep. What we've seen is a fraction, and we're not going to see what the true depravity. We're not. Those files have long been deleted.
Yes.
The depth to which these people are compromised, and the depth to which their depravity goes, a human mind, our tiny little human mind can't comprehend. I think we've only scratched the surface of just how bad the crimes are. And I know one of the things that Whitney Webb has said in the past is, I know she said this in an interview, I think it was with Glenn Beck. She said that as bad as these crimes were, and as bad as the stuff that they did with these women and the girls and the trafficking is, the financial crimes are far bigger. They're having much more of a sentencing, and it's the financial side of things that you really want to look into if you want to get to the truth of this. And of course, the financial thing is the investigation that Trump launched back 6-8 months ago into the financial side, which means that none of the financial stuff is coming out of those files, because it's all to do with this other investigation. And obviously, that's all going to get whitewashed and redacted, and we're going to see very little of it. It is all of them. Republican, Democrats, actors, singers, judges, the lot. And they're all compromised. And it's clear here who is doing it, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. It is an absolute sewer. Moving on, number 9 on our top 10 list before we get to the latest news is this. Now, we do have to talk about Ukraine and how bad it is going to get and how bad it has got there. And of course, Peskov has come out and said that there is absolutely no point in them having any more dialogue. And of course, we've got some figures for you. Now, just listen to this for a second, if you would, Gordon. Now, we have consistently said on this program that over 2 million Ukrainians are dead, and everybody's sort of going, no. But it's absolutely true. Let me just give you another figure here from this week, okay? The Center Group of Forces killed 2,325 Ukrainians this week. The Vostok Group, 2,130. The Zapad Group, 1,285. In the Yug Group of Forces area, 1,245. In the Sever Group of Forces, 1,665. And the Dnipro Group of Forces, 495. Now, that is a total of 9,145 soldiers. The Ukrainian side have said it is just over 9,000, but they're not going to give us the full figure. That is around 1,300 soldiers a day on the Ukrainian side that are dying. Now, if you, we know that there's been roughly about 1,600, so that's actually down a little bit on the normal weekly amount. Now, we know that there's only about 500,000 actual Ukrainian soldiers left, Gordon. And if that carries on, by the end of August, come late September, they're going to have to fall back from tons and tons of positions because they have no way of keeping the Russians off them apart from using tons and tons of drones.
They're not really soldiers either, are they? That's the problem.
No.
their conscripts who have been press ganged into it. We've seen how they're being dragged from the streets. I mean, these people are not fighting for their country at all. They're literally scared for their lives because they don't know what to do. Otherwise, their own people are going to bury them alive or shoot them in the back of the head. You know, this is not a war that Ukraine can win. And you and I have been saying this all along. This is a proxy war between America and and Russia, and they've used Ukraine, and they're willing to fight Russia to the last Ukrainian. And some people will say, "Oh, Sodom, they're Nazis," and lots of them are. But you know, the average man on the street isn't, who was just been dragged and thrown into the meat grinder. It's what these people like Lindsey Graham and John McCain when he was alive, and what these Americans have done in Ukraine is quite frankly criminal. It really is. And you know, for anybody who thinks that Russia were the aggressive ones in this war, you just have a word with yourselves as to whether the English would allow that to happen in Scotland. If the UK broke up the same way as the Soviet Union broke up in the 1990s, if the UK broke up and Russia or China started putting billions of dollars into Scottish TV to try to turn anti-English sentiment, and then started investing in all sorts of bio laboratories, and you know, if the Sergei Lavrov's son and daughter were in on the board of a North Sea oil company, and you know, we in England would start to have some serious problems at that point, or very soon, as soon as they started. This was going on as far back as the early 2000s in the Ukraine. With Victoria Nuland has bragged about the billions that they put into Ukraine. You know, you had Nancy Pelosi's son on TV in Ukraine saying, "I'm just here to talk about soccer." No, you tried to infect their country with your pro-Western, anti-Russian propaganda. And it has gone on now for 20 years. You've been doing this. It's criminal. Your sons aren't dying. No, these Ukrainians are. They're scared for their lives, and they're dying in their thousands. And it's criminal that these people in America and these Western countries and the EU have allowed it to happen.
Yeah, and continue to promulgate this nonsense. Nilus.
Well, it's even worse than that. It's a bit like if Gordon Brown gave a large part of northern Britain to Scotland, and then Scotland got its independence, and Scotland started treating the people in northern England, Sunderland, Newcastle, Leeds, filth. Yeah, and saying you can't speak English anymore, and you can't have your own religion, and your children are going to be used for medical experimentation.
Yeah, pretty much. Good call, Nilus. Thank you very much for that. And number 10, before we get into some news items, let's have a little look at this. So there we are. NATO, completely finished, isn't it? I mean, it's not going to Trump's assistance. Trump's going to remember that. He's not going to be helping NATO. They want out of the Ukraine war. They have done for a long time, trying to mediate it after they started it. They left Europe holding the baby. I mean, nobody's going to put troops in. Germany aren't going to put troops in. The UK aren't going to put troops in. We're not even going to send a boat to help the Americans. Nobody wants to get bombed to pieces in Hormuz, and they're not going to put British troops into Ukraine because they'll get killed. Neither are Germany, neither are Italy. This coalition of the willing is a coalition of the clueless, isn't it, Gordon?
Yeah, NATO's finished, Warren. You know, once he threatened Greenland and just said we're going to take it militarily, that was NATO finished. You know, you could say it was long before, long before that, but you know, it's clear here that you're not in NATO to keep you safe from Russia. You're in NATO to keep you safe from what America will do to you if you're not in NATO. You know, Australia, Caitlin Johnson said this about Australia and this AUKUS deal. Australia didn't make this submarine deal with the United States and the UK because they were scared of what China were going to do if they didn't. No, they were scared of what America were going to do if they didn't go into this deal with them. You know, we're dealing with, it's a mafia organization here, the United States is. Yeah. You know, they do things under threat of violence, and you can clearly see that they've been doing this all around the world. Spain is a NATO member, and he basically said to them, "We'll use their bases if we want to. What are they going to do about it?" You know, and it's the end of it. And personally, Warren, I'm very happy about it. I think that NATO is an alliance that basically is just there for the United States to wage war around whatever and mess about with whatever they want to do in Europe and the North Atlantic. So I say good riddance to it. And, you know, along with your NATO bases in Europe, how about you pack up your bases all over the world and sod off? Because it's clear here that your bases around the world, while they used to be assets to you, now they're liabilities and they're just big red bullseyes.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Well, that was our top 10 that we've gone through. There is a couple of things that need addressing urgently, and this is one of them, Gordon. Have a look at this.
היי, רציתי לשתף משהו אחרי תקופה ארוכה שאני סוחבת את זה עם עצמי. קוראים לי שושנה סטרוק. אני עברתי פגיעה מינית בילדות על ידי שני ההורים שלי. הפגיעה המינית צולמה. זה אומר שזה בעצם שימש לפורנוגרפיית ילדים. בתקופה האחרונה עלו לי מספר זיכרונות מהפגיעה עצמה. והבנתי שכנראה היה מדובר גם בפגיעה טקסית. יצרתי קשר עם מישהי בפייסבוק שמספרת הרבה על פגיעה טקסית שגם היא עברה, והיא הפנתה אותי למישהי בשם נעמה גולדברג. שנעמה גולדברג בעצם היא אמרה לי שיש לה הרבה מידע על פגיעות טקסיות. לקח לי כמה ימים לפנות לנעמה גולדברג, וכשפניתי אליה היא ישר תוך רגע הייתה זמינה, וזה היה נראה שהיא כמו חיכתה לזה שהפנה אליה, והיא בעצם שלחה לי איזושהי כתבה שבדיוק התפרסמה. לא הייתי מסוגלת לקרוא את הכתבה בתור התחלה, כי כמובן שזה מאוד מאוד הפחיד אותי. ובעצם אני לא אספר את כל הפרטים, אבל מה שקרה באינטראקציה עם נעמה גולדברג, זה שבעצם היא רמזה לי בצורה די ברורה, כביכול כאילו היא תומכת בי, אבל בעצם הבנתי שכל הסרטוני פורנוגרפיה האלה הם קיימים אצלם. נעמה ממש אמרה שהיא יכולה לבקש ממישהו להגיע לסרטים האלה, שזה אומר שיש לה קשר ישיר לבן אדם שאצלו נמצא כל המידע הזה. וסוג של בעצם הפחידה אותי ואימה עליי שהסרטונים האלה יכולים להתפרסם. ואז נפל לי האסימון שמדובר בפשע הרבה 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 יותר מאורגן. אני גם נפגעתי מינית בתור ילדה, אבל גם בעצם כנראה שאני נמצאת כרגע תחת איומים של גורמים עבריינים יותר גדולים. אני מאוד לא מבינה בעולם הזה. אני מרגישה מאוימת, אני הגשתי תלונה במשטרה על ההורים שלי לפני שיצאתי מהארץ. עכשיו חזרתי בבהלה לארץ כי הבנתי שאני בעצם מאוימת על ידי גורמים עבריינים. אני מבקשת ממשטרת ישראל שתגן עליי גם מול הגורמים העבריינים האלה וגם מול המשפחה שלי. אשמח לעזרת הציבור בהפצה של זה לכל גורם אפשרי, וכמובן שאני אפנה למשטרה באופן ישיר ממש עוד היום. כמובן שזה מאוד חשוב. תודה לכולם על התמיכה, אני מעריכה את העזרה.
Now we are about to be joined by Lembit Opik as well. Gordon Dimmock, that lady there, welcome to the show, Lembit. How are you?
Not bad. Good to see you. And hi, Gordon.
Hi, Lembit.
Very, very simply, that lady there, of course, accusing her parents, who were diplomats, of sexually trafficking her when she was a children, repeatedly has turned around and said she's not suicidal. And of course, she's made these claims, and we've shown these claims before. She has been found dead at the age of 34 from an apparent suicide. Gordon, in a state where she has filed a complaint, an actual complaint with the police, she's now been found dead of an apparent suicide.
I'm shocked. Well, and I'm absolutely shocked. This is just evil. It's horrible, isn't it? It's just awful. And her parents are diplomats.
Yes, or were diplomats. Yeah.
This is something that really is. It's almost satanic, isn't it?
It is quite staggering in a country that has the highest amount of paedophiles per capita. And I'm just going to play this before we bring Lembit in. Have a look at this.
היי, אני שושנה סטרוק, גדלתי ביישוב היהודי בחברון. אחיד מגיל 2.5, ההורים שלי היו לוקחים אותי לטקסים פדופילים, שבהם כמו אילפו אותי, תכנתו אותי באמצעות סמים, באמצעות היפנוזה, באמצעות פגיעות מיניות, ובעצם הם יצרו אצלי כל מיני חלקים, כל מיני זהויות. החל מגיל 13 אבא שלי התחיל לסרסר בי בתל אביב, עשה עליי כסף מה שנקרא. הפגיעות המשיכו עד גיל די מאוחר. בעצם מה שקרה עכשיו זה שאפילו שכבר פרסמתי את זה ואפילו שכבר סיפרתי, אבא שלי ממשיך לפגוע בי. הוא הגיע לדירה שלי, ואני שכרתי דירה באופן עצמאי, גרתי לבד. הוא הגיע לדירה ופגע בי שוב. הוא הביא איתו גם עוד בן אדם. את הבן אדם הזה הוא בעצם מכשיר כדי שיוכלו להמשיך לסרסר בי גם אחרי שאבא שלי ימות. כי ככה זה עובד, הם מעבירים את זה ככה דורות בין הדורות, את הפגיעה, את הסרסור, את הניצול המיני של ילדים, את הניצול המיני של נשים. מאז הפגיעה האחרונה עזבתי את הדירה שלי, אין לי בית. לבינתיים מצאתי כמה אנשים טובים שמסכימים לארח אותי כל אחד לכמה ימים, אבל אין לי ממש דרך לפרנס את עצמי, כיוון שאני מתמודדת עם הפרעת זהות דיסוציאטיבית, זה נקרא DID. אני נמצאת במצב נפשי מאוד 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 קשה, ויש סכנה אמיתית שאני אגיע באמת לרחוב. אני חושבת שמאוד מאוד חשוב לעזור לי, כן, שתהיה לי תמיכה נפשית, שיהיה לי ביטחון כלכלי, שיהיה לי שקט נפשי, שיהיו לי אנשים שיעזרו לי, שיהיה לי ביטחון פיזי, שיפסיקו לפגוע בי. מאוד אשמח לכל עזרה כדי שאני אוכל.
Now, she made that appeal a couple of weeks ago, saying that, of course, she was being moved. She had to move from house to house for her own personal safety. And of course, given that this is an Israeli minister, she had to go back to the settlement where she was from, because nobody would give her safe conduct, or were frightened to give her safe conduct. And within 3 days of returning to that settlement, she has been found dead of an apparent suicide. I'll come to Lembit first on this, and then Gordon.
Well, it's all circumstantial in terms of evidence. But if this was happening in the United Kingdom, every newspaper and every media outlet, even though it's controlled media, would feel obliged to report it, and there'd be public outrage. The difficulty we now have is, I'm not sure what else you were talking about earlier on, but it leads to a pattern. And there are some unsaid things here, and you begin to think, when these people are calling for help and then they end up dead, it begins to look terribly, terribly bad for that regime.
Yeah, absolutely. Gordon, coming to you. This is an Israeli minister, not just, I mean, obviously, he was a high up to start with. And of course, he then became an Israeli minister. There's a daughter making absolute cast iron accusations here, even been to the police, and she winds up dead. And there is not a murmur about this.
Can you imagine if this was a Russian diplomat and she was Russian, or Chinese or Iranian? You know, the whole Western media would be all over it like white on rice, and here we are, and not a word being said. It's despicable. It really is. The fourth estate in the West is, well, it's been deceased for quite some years now, I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Let's dive into some of these stories then, because this is quite crazy. Somebody's got their hand up who wants to have a talk here. Nilis?
Well, it's not only limited to Israel. I think in America it's very common. It's all linked to MK Ultra. One of the whistleblowers about this has been Kathy O'Brien. She says she was abused by her father from the age of a baby. In the program, she was actually auctioned off at Disneyland. Was bought by Bob Hope, and then she was farmed out allegedly, and then she was farmed out to people like the Clintons.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah, there certainly it seems as though there needs to be some investigation into these claims, and of course, these people are literally now, from what I can understand, I don't think anybody is buying for a second. Anybody is buying for a second that she committed suicide. Let's have a little look at this.
Relationship. We had a good discussion yesterday about the Straits, as you would expect. We're strong allies, have been for decades. But it is for me to act in what I consider to be the best interests of Britain. And I have to keep that uppermost in my mind. And it is interesting, for want of a better word, that those that 2 weeks ago were urging us to go headlong into the full-blown war are beginning to have second thoughts about that, and there's reason for that. The problem, as I pointed out to the Leader of the Opposition last Wednesday, is if you're Prime Minister, you don't get to come back a week later and say, oops, I made a mistake about that war, can I back out of it now? You have to make the decision that you genuinely believe is in the best interest of the British people.
So there we are. I'll come to Gordon first on this one. Gordon, here we are, aiming our planes are highlighting people in from Akrotiri Air Base for ages and ages and ages to kill Yemenis, to kill Iranians, for the Israelis and the Americans to take out. Yet we are not sending any ships whatsoever to the Straits of Hormuz to help Trump out.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? My whole life, Warren, my whole lifetime, the United Kingdom just rushes headlong with the United States into whatever war that they were doing. I mean, I remember Libya, we basically did the frontline bombing for them along with France. The United States Air Force didn't really even get involved in that one. And now all of a sudden we've refrained from doing it. I'm very unhappy that they're still loading bombs at one of the RAF. Is it Fairfax or Fairfield in this country?
Yeah.
They're going and looks like carpet bombing targets in Iran at the moment. But other than that, I'm very happy that we've stayed out of this war, because it seems to be an absolute unmitting disaster. And right now, they haven't got an answer on how to solve the Strait of Hormuz problem, as you and I would have known that they haven't got an answer, and they're desperately reaching out to all and sundry, hoping that they're going to. I mean, I I would I can't imagine that there are any nations on the planet right now that want to get in the middle of this. Um, and and the United States and Israel, they've got a big problem right now because I can't see a way out of this for them other than to declare victory and leave.
Exactly, as they always do. Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, and Iraq. They were all victories, but we're going home now. Lembit, there's 0 people so far have signed up, and yet Trump is saying that loads of people are going to go through the Straits of Hormuz with him. He's having a senior moment here, isn't he?
Well, he's. I wouldn't say he's lost his marbles. He's teetotal and drug free for rather tragic reasons relating to his family, and I credit him for being like that. So I don't think there's any question about his mental faculties. The problem is he indulges in a great deal of brinkmanship, and by and large people have believed him, and he's pulled quite a few pretty impressive deals off. The problem here is when the rubber hits the road in the Middle East, you have to be pretty clued up in order to understand the very fluid dynamics of the situation. And America persistently underestimates the power of Iran and underestimates the importance of the mutual relationships between countries, which America seems to assume are enemies. Iran is a regional superpower. You yourself have pointed out many times, Warren, that it was Iran that dismantled ISIL. The West created it, and Iran dismantled it.
Yes.
And for his efforts, General Soleimani, who was the brilliant and charismatic leader of that initiative, was assassinated in Baghdad, if I recall.
Yes.
And so, once again, what we see here is miscalculation by America. But for Trump, the problem is he has got quite far with this strategy. And now, when there's a serious prospect of dead soldiers and sunk ships from other countries, they're pulling back. It's exactly what's happened with Ukraine, where they've been talking a good talk, but they're not going to do it. So now Trump and Starmer, and maybe we'll talk about this again in the future in my show, Trump and Starmer are in a difficult position because Starmer, after saying he wouldn't do anything, is now sending the ship to Akrotiri, but I'm sure Trump wants him to send the stupid thing to, or the very clever ship, but the clever ship stupidly to the Strait of Hormuz to get sunk.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else. This has got me very hot under the collar because you know I'm a big football fan. I played at a decent level, semi-pro level, and then I managed at a decent level, and I also refereed cup finals. So I'm a huge football fan. And we've got this story that's come out, as you can see, and this is the Iranian national team. Iran says it may still play at the World Cup if its fixtures are moved to Mexico. Now, there was a lot of people coming out and saying this is a real problem for the United States and for Iran. We can't have Iran at the World Cup because the United States are hosting it. And it was made out that they had withdrawn. The truth of the matter is completely different. And of course, once again, this is showing exactly the nonsense that has come out of this. And I'm going to go through this now. Now, the Iranian national team will be able to participate in the current World Cup despite the war if the team's matches are moved from the US to Mexico, said the Iranian ambassador. Now, the problem with him is the first stage matches will be held in the United States. Now, under the original plan, the championship matches were to be held in three American countries: Mexico, Canada, and the USA. Washington has refused to provide the Islamic Republic's team with the necessary logistical or administrative support to obtain visas to the US, denying earlier reports that Iran had actually withdrawn their participation and has appealed to FIFA, the sports governing body, to intervene in the matter. The publication reports that if the matches are moved to Mexico or Canada, Iran will participate. Now, I'm not being funny here, but if you're going to start banning people that you've suddenly gone to war with from World Cups, you shouldn't be hosting World Cups, should you, Gordon Dimmock?
It's preposterous, Warren. It's preposterous. I mean, Russia was banned from competition within 2 days of invading Ukraine. Within 2 days, and the crimes that Russia have done in Ukraine, you could argue, are pale into insignificance compared to the United States and how many countries the United States has bombed in the last 12, was it 8 just in the last year?
And Israel aren't banned.
Of course not. And if you are consistent with this, which they're clearly not, FIFA aren't, and these governing bodies, there's no way that the United States should be playing in the World Cup, let alone hosting it. So it's preposterous. This whole deal is. There's no way that they should be hosting this. Even they shouldn't be in it, let alone hosting it. And it I don't know about you, Warren, but I'm kind of thinking that this peace prize that FIFA gave him was a little bit short-sighted and maybe wasn't thought through. What about you?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that one. Now, I'm going to bring Lembit in here because, Lembit, I don't know about you. I want Iran in the World Cup. And I tell you what, I want Iran and USA to get through the group stages and meet each other in the last 16. I think that would be a hell of a football match.
I've always wanted to separate sport and politics for one simple reason. If you choose to quarantine sport away from politics, it helps a lot. 1980, Estonia, the home of my parents, was going to do the water part of the Olympics. And they spent a whole lot of money. It was so exciting for the Estonians. But because of the boycott due to the invasion of Afghanistan by the Soviet Union, it was boycotted. And that really hurt Estonia. It didn't hurt the Kremlin, or maybe a bit, but it was so heartbreaking for Estonians and others. Had it occurred, then countless thousands would have got their visas to go to Estonia, and there would have been some kind of cultural mixing. And I have to say that sport, in my view, is a great way for that to occur. Not many people realize that the Ireland rugby team is an all-Ireland rugby team, the North and the South. And so that's always been a benefit, I think, to the situation there. And there are so many other times when you see countries actually coming together over a net or on a field, and things change because of it. I've actually been very interested in what the female Iranian team has been doing in Australia. One by one, they've decided to go back to Iran, but that in itself is becoming quite an interesting story. And I'm sure that there's some progression going on there. That's what I think. Maybe I'm just an optimist. So if I were America, I would say publicly, we're going to keep the football out of the war. And Gordon's already made the point. There's one criticism I make of Gordon. Gordon makes the naive assumption that Western politicians have the slightest intention of being consistent and not hypocritical in their international foreign policy. Where have you been for the last 500 years, Gordon?
Nothing drives me more mad than hypocrisy. There's a reason it's in the lower echelons of Dante's hell. Yeah, the hypocrites really are the worst.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what we're seeing here. We're seeing people who haven't got an iota of guilt about saying one thing and doing another.
I am one of those people who wants to see what happened in, I believe it was in South or Central America that it happened, where they had actually a World Cup qualifier and both teams were not getting on with each other, were at war or whatever. And one team didn't turn up. FIFA said the game had got to be played. The other team didn't take the pitch. And of course, the other team went down the other end, scored a goal, and that was it. It was basically, there was nobody else on the pitch. So I think it would be rather wonderful if Iran and America got through, I think Russia should be there as well. I've got a really fantastic idea. Let's have a World Cup qualifier where Iran, Israel, Russia, and America all play in the same group. I think that'd be rather great. And of course, it probably would. I don't think the Iran-Israel game would pass off without there being a problem. But of course, we see this all the time. Lee Williams.
I was just going to actually mention, is Israel in the World Cup? Number one.
Didn't qualify.
Right, okay. But then number one, where do they all live, for one? Because obviously maybe they're not staying in Israel so much now.
Yes.
But then secondly, if they was to play Iran, would that be more of a comedy to the extent of hateful between each others?
I think it'd be rather good. I mean, the Palestine national team is completely devastated because half of it's been killed. Sean Murphy.
Well, Warren, I'm eagerly awaiting the next Olympics because I want to see the Iranian women's beach volleyball team playing.
Yeah, that'll be rather good. Let's face it, the Iranian women's team the Iranian women's team have been offered asylum by Australia. And in fact, they were rather forced into it. 5 out of the 7 have already returned home, and the other 2 are certainly thinking about it. But there's no doubt whatsoever that should Iran go and take part in the World Cup, America will be trying to pressure their players into defecting. And of course, they don't want to do that. And it's very much along those lines. Let's get into this now. France have asked Russia to actually surrender parts of land. They're also asking Iran to surrender to America. This is a country with a long history of surrendering, Lembit. Macron's asking everybody to surrender.
Yeah, it's he likes anything that's white. That Macron, I'm told, in terms of various flags, I suppose. Let's keep it to that. The reality is that Macron, like Starmer, is completely off the serious political agenda. He spent a year or 2 trying to prove he isn't married to a man. The only reason people think he is because they tried so hard to prove he isn't. I mean, if he just laughed it off, it wouldn't have mattered. Then he had that hugely embarrassing slapping incident when he arrived at the far side of the world, causing all kinds of rumours, which I cannot confirm or deny. And now he's saying...
Was that the moment when Brian gave him a swift right-hander as he was getting off the plane?
Affectionately known as, yes. Brigitte. Yes. And basically, it doesn't matter what he says. He's hanging around with the other losers, namely Zelensky and Starmer, the 3 amigos. So he's actually a classic example of the incredibly low 4th division quality of European politicians, and he's not a player.
Yeah. Gordon, I mean, we have to say that the slap that was heard around the world, that finished Macron, didn't it?
Well, Jimmy Dore's got a joke about this. He says what you didn't see was Macron had actually smacked Bridget in the balls just before that had happened. Yeah. This is
that is satire, by the way. That is satire. Let's stress you can't sue Gordon for a joke.
No, it wasn't my joke. It was Jimmy Dore's joke.
Yeah, but you just repeated it.
I think that's that could have been that she was actually hiding a pair of tennis balls down there. That doesn't mean that.
That's what you meant. Yes, of course.
And of course, allegedly. But we'd have to ask Candace on that one. I think you're absolutely right, gentlemen. I mean, France are basically becoming a joke, aren't they? I mean, here's Bastille Day. Have a look at this. it's can you see French forces going into Ukraine, Gordon?
Well, I don't think that those are French aircraft because they had colours other than white coming out of the back.
Good.
That's a joke too, by the way.
It's probably a good thing they do surrender, isn't it, given the state of their armed forces, Gordon?
Putin is shaking in his boots at that footage, I can tell you. He's really scared.
Quite staggering, isn't it?
Basically, basically, the French army literally frightens the horses.
It does. It's not a good thing. Let's have a little look at this because this is a little bit of light-hearted there. Let's have a little look at this because this is John Mersheimer having a talk about the albatross around America's neck.
Not in our strategic interest. Remember, I said before, Israel is an albatross around our neck. That contradicts the basic thesis of my book and my writings more generally on great power politics, and Steve's as well. But it just goes to show you how enormously powerful the lobby is. I mean, just Max and Aaron, just think about the fact that the United States recognizes that if it has a peer competitor in the international system that it should worry about, it's China, right? And this is why Hillary Clinton enunciated in 2011 that we were going to pivot to Asia. China is seen as the most important threat to the United States inside of the national security community. Well, if you look at these various wars that we're fighting in the Middle East, and the first one, of course, was the 12-day war last June, and now you look at this conflict, it is seriously eroding our capability to contain China in East Asia. We're pulling THAADs and Patriots out of South Korea and Japan. This is truly remarkable. We have been shortchanging East Asia. We have been shortchanging our containment policy in East Asia for quite a while now because of Israel. And the situation is now only getting worse.
Now, we're going to get into a little bit more of that in a second. If you did hear me coughing, I do apologise. I was coughing back the laughter because Armitage Shanks in the comments section turned around and said, why is the Champs-Elysees lined with trees so the Germans can march in the shade? There we go. Of course. Let's have a little look at this, lighten the humour a little bit more. Epstein's gone. Does Trump bow to Israel? I mean, there's lots of people call this Operation Epstein Fury. Are they doing that? It was a light-hearted look at that, by the way. Is this all one big distraction for you, Lembit, or do you think these two are not connected in any way?
I found it cringe-worthy to watch that take there on Titanic. A film I have to like. I don't really like schmaltzy films, but as schmaltzy films go, it really is a great Saturday night in with your lady type film. There's no two ways about it. The conspiracy theorists very much agree with what you've said, and I know many people like that. And those who say, "Oh yeah, well, this is all about trying to distract from the real problems that Donald Trump has." I honestly don't know, but I doubt it. And here's why. My experience in politics told me one very simple thing. The more complex a plan is, the more likely it is to go wrong. And it doesn't have to be very complex at all in politics for it to go wrong, because we're dealing with a bunch of rank amateurs on the whole who don't know how to do it. Politicians ludicrously think that their great skill set is being politicians. And that's just crazy. I want specialists. I want doctors to be Ministry of Health heads. I want military to be people to be Secretaries of State for Defense. I don't want somebody who flunked all their examinations at school to preach about education, and all of this sort of thing. So basically, we have far too low a grade of politician to pull complicated things like this off. I suspect it's more to do with Trump being hauled into this by Israel and being unable to get out of it. He was probably cursing Netanyahu when this happened, but that's my speculation. If I'm wrong about that, it's just too complex, too difficult a way of distracting from Epstein, because one thing is absolutely sure. Sooner or later, it's all going to come out. One whistleblower somewhere deep in the bowels of the system will go through those 6 warehouses, unlock the doors and say, there you go, lads.
Yeah. Gordon, any other two connected for you?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure either way on this, and I've been reporting on this for a long time. All I'll say is this: at the end of every empire, it goes nuts. It happened during Roman times. It happened during the Ottoman Empire, the British, and it just seems to me like this is end of empire stuff, and it's just gone nuts right now. I'm half expecting Trump to nominate a horse as a senator in the next few weeks. I just feel, I just feel as though it's not just a distraction from Epstein; it's a distraction from everything. And they know that everything's going down in flames, and I don't think anybody's got a plan of what to do about it. So they're just, they've only got a hammer, and that's a giant military. And when you've only got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And you could argue that that's the case. So either way, it's not good. Either way, we're talking end of empire for the United States and their hegemony around the world. And what happens on that, and what the incarnation that we get out of that, that's anybody's guess.
It's interesting you use that language, Gordon, because I'd say the very similar things, that we are living in Rome roughly 200 AD, and things are going wrong. But if you're living in Rome at 200 AD or maybe 300 AD, it's not all wham bam over. To quote the very famous poem, it ends not with a bang but a whimper.
Yeah,
I think that's what's happening. So they're wrestling and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and getting smaller, and the new hegemony just picks up the pieces, rather like Russia, patiently, grindingly picks up territory every day. But we don't talk about Ukraine because it's too awkward.
Yeah, of course, it's a war that's not going to be won. Sean Murphy's waiting to speak. Sean.
Well, Warren, I think it's problem reaction, no solution.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's a great quote. Thank you very much for that. So let's ask then, as we've got 3 of us on, there's somebody popping their hand up, wants a quick word. Robert.
Starmer doesn't mention sausages anymore. Is this Rasherism?
I think it might well be. I think it's one of those don't mention pork since it's captured by the Israel lobby. Let's get into this bit here then. So how long have they got? According to most sources, it's about this long.
A bit of a bash for the next fortnight. And that about how long you got.
Old silk cutter, but how long have America before it all goes terribly wrong? Blending.
Who you ask? That's all already gone wrong. So no time. The 2 people who are in the firing line here, particularly, and it's ironic, really, considering the hammering that Iran has had. Donald Trump, who quite clearly, and I've been fairly sympathetic to Donald Trump in a lot of things, but it's quite obvious that he has started a war. He's participated in a war after saying no more foreign wars, and that's very difficult for him. It depends on the end game. I'll come to that in a moment. Then for Keir Starmer, talk about flip-flop. He is the political equivalent of the hokey cokey. It's impossible to actually understand what his policy is. We are not going to be involved with the Iran. Don't let me finish. The Iran war, but we will be. So we're not. We're going to absolutely nothing, but we are going to send a ship. That I've spoken to Donald Trump, and I've said, I really, when I promise change, I don't really mean it. And that's it. You know, what the hell are you talking about, you idiot? You get 160 grand to talk utter bilge, more bilge than is coming out of the HMS Dragon, which is incidentally using roughly enough fuel one way on its trip to, I suspect, the Persian Gulf eventually, to fuel an average family car for 3,700 years.
That's if it doesn't break a turbine on the way there.
I know, it's a really tricky thing. They got problems with those engines. 25.2 megawatts each. They got 50 megawatts when they're working, 30 knots when it's working. But it uses, they're both, the engines at full pelt use 9 tons of fuel, about 10,000 litres of fuel an hour. That's a lot of fuel.
That's going so.
Yeah, no, but you never talk about the environment in those situations because
well, they never talk about the environment when they're dropping bombs. Gordon,
no, they don't.
How many more bombs can America drop before they have to go, before they sail home again?
They will just keep dropping bombs because that's all they know how to do. With regards to, you know, how long will it take? We're in the middle of it now, obviously. You know, it's happening right now. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens to, you know, these leaders, Trump, Netanyahu, and Starmer, as Lembit mentions there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens after when the dust clears.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into this then. Netanyahu's death. Let's have a little bit of this. There we go. Oh, no, that's the wrong one.
So is your video.
Yeah, the wrong video there. Netanyahu's death, Gordon. There's people calling that he's dead. There's people saying that he's not. What's your thoughts on this?
Oh, yesterday I was convinced he was dead. Yesterday I was. You know, these ridiculous videos that they're putting out. That, I mean, they're clearly AI. A couple of videos that have been out there. So you got to ask, why are they doing this? Why are they putting this out now? Where is he? He hasn't been he hadn't been seen for about a week. So it wouldn't surprise me if he is. And I know his brother was severely injured or killed. I think Ben Gvir has been injured as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if he is dead. Oh, yesterday I was convinced he was.
Yeah, Lembit, your thoughts?
He's not dead. He's not dead, and here's why. If he was dead, he has so many enemies in his own team. Even though a lot of them are very supportive, probably a majority are supportive that somebody would blurt it out. I think it seems that the Iranians were trying initially to say that Ayatollah Khamenei was not dead for understandable reasons, and then within a day it came out. So if Netanyahu was dead, we would know. And the stories about Vladimir Putin being on his deathbed and having some wasting disease, it's rubbish. He's in good health as far as I know. I know people who know him. He's not sick. I would say well, at least the ones who I know, maybe they haven't seen him for a while, don't think he is. So that's not, it's just gossip. It's actually in the same category of whether Mr. Macron is married to Mr. Macron or not. It doesn't really affect me. It doesn't matter, because the fundamental problem still remains. How do you unmess the mess?
Yeah, there is that. I think we're going to get a dose of this eventually.
Hey boys, look what I got here.
And then somebody's going to drag him out and go, here you go, here he is. As far as we know, the only that we know is that he was in Germany 5 days ago. He left from Akrotiri to fly to Ramstein Air Force Base, and that's the last we saw of him. This is obviously the biggest corridor in the world at the moment. but there's one ship that's been allowed through. There's a Pakistan tanker that's gone through the Strait of Hormuz. It's actually had to go along the Iranian coastline rather than through the strait. And of course, anything else that turns on its engine has been bombed. I mean, what have Pakistan given them, Gordon?
Is it Bitcoin they're buying it in? what are they buying it in? Well, Iran have said they will give passage to any tankers that the oil has been, where the oil has been purchased on something other than the dollar. I think the yuan, the Chinese yuan. So they've said that they will give passage to any tankers if they can prove that the tankers have been, or the oil has been paid for in the Chinese yuan. So maybe that's got something to do with it.
Yeah. Lembit, your thoughts?
Yeah, they've just simply said to Tehran, our fight's not with you guys. Crack on, but if it's all right with you, we'd like to buy some oil. And they said, yeah, fill your boots. And others will do that too. And we could end up in a rather ridiculous situation where Israel and America are tempted to take shots at the tankers that do get through. Because you could be in a situation where China and India, the two most populous countries in the world, just carry on filling up those tankers and having cheap oil so that they can make all the manufactured products that we so soon won't be able to afford to buy.
Yeah, I think you're right. Lee Williams.
I was just going to add earlier as well. The fact of when Starmer, the most trusted, prime minister we've ever had, said in August, that's when the price of the petrol, we call it petroleum, but obviously diesel's a little bit more expensive, will go up. Now, funny enough, it was £1.70, just in basically a normal place, of a petroleum centre. So just thought I'd let people know it's really going up now. So what's it going to be by August? Or is he lying?
There we go. What do you think is going to happen? We'll go to Lembit first with this one. What's going to happen, Lembit, oil-wise? Is the Straits, your best guess, are the Straits going to stay closed for quite a while? Is there going to be some sort of deal done between the countries? Or are America going to commit troops into that?
Well, actually, they're not all direct. It's not an either-or. I think America will try and do some kind of a land offensive, which will be about as successful as the early 1960s Bay of Pigs massacre, where America tried to sponsor a counter-revolution in Cuba and it fell on its face. That's one thing. It won't succeed. In terms of the core question here, Strait of Hormuz, I think it will be opened, but I think it'll be selective. I think that most countries will be able to export and import, but there'll be some kind of almost border patrol which will harass the allied shipping, if you like, American, Israeli. I don't know if they have ships there, maybe British shipping. But if I was to put a time scale on it, I'd say in about 4 weeks' time, there'll be some kind of a backdoor deal to open it up. And Trump will, as Gordon suggested before, claim victory, even though all the Iranians have to do is survive. That's really the victory.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of that. Gordon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I can see a deal being done in a few weeks' time. I can see the Gulf countries doing a deal with Iran, and so the whole point of America being in these Gulf countries is to keep them safe. That's the deal that was done. And if at the first time there's trouble, you leave them, then you're a paper tiger, obviously, and you weren't keeping them safe at all. So the deal that needs to be done for the Gulf countries is with Iran and them. And so I can see that there's something happening then. And if that happens, then obviously the United States are pulling their bases out of the Middle East, and that's the end of the petrodollar, and this is the way it will go down. Something similar like that.
Well,
It's impossible It's actually impossible to see how America can get out of this in a better state than it went in. It's impossible to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't see that at all. No, I can't see that at all. This is going to be a huge loss for them, which does, if you look at history, tend to lend itself to the fact that it's soon in the next few months they'll declare victory and leave.
Yeah. But there's a lot now with all the propaganda that comes out. How much now? Because there are many people. I thought I'd bring this up. Oh, for God's sake, Trevor! Always you with the conspiracy stuff. I'm telling you, the man and the dog are definitely working together. How much now is conspiracy, and how much is truth? Because half of the almost half of the conspiracy theories seem to be true.
I know for a fact, because I used to represent a rural constituency with many sheep in it. That man and that dog are definitely not working together. And just because they're in the same photograph is no indication of wrongdoing. Fact.
Yeah. For you, Gordon, conspiracy theories and, of course, these. I mean, it's quite crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, there was a thing in the BBC, I think last year, was like, how to talk to a conspiracy theorist. And basically, what you do is you put your arm around them and say, I'm sorry, mate, you're right about everything. Because they're back at thousands this year alone that, the conspiracy theories are coming true. Some conspiracy theories are true. That's, they're theories, yes, but some of them are true. Somebody mentioned MK Ultra earlier. That was at one stage, that was a massive conspiracy theory. And now we know that, they really did do all of these things, these horrific things. And they're probably still doing them in some incarnation now. So, conspiracy theory, difference between conspiracy theory and fact these days is about 3 weeks, isn't it? So
I'll make a prediction. I don't for a moment think that Epstein was only trafficking women and girls. I have no doubt at all that at some point we'll discover that male victims are also involved. It would beg a belief that of the thousands and thousands of victims, not one of them was male. Frankly, unless Epstein was doing this for fun, he must have been having a very significant motivation for what he was doing. Let's say he was doing it to service the paid perversions of his clients. Some of them will be gay and some of them will be naughty. And if he was doing it for compromising photographs and videos, well, once again, what could be better than a straight person, allegedly straight person, being caught up with somebody of the same sex? So when Peter Mandelson said, well, I probably didn't know anything about it, he probably didn't involve me because I'm gay, it's like a smoking gun. Hang on a second. What do you even mean by saying that? You, Peter Mandelson, were friends with this guy after he spent time in the clink for sex abuse of a minor. So it's like he didn't know this. He wrote the guy a letter. Saying, stay strong, try and get out as soon as you can. So once you begin to see that with these everything's possible.
It is quite an incredible thing, isn't it? Let's have a little look at this, because it's becoming, with AI and of course all sorts of fake reporting going on, it's becoming more and more difficult to discern what is a correct video and what isn't. This, I would imagine, now needs to be a thing of the past. Have a look at this.
Oh yes, edited highlights, the best of Damien Day, starting with June 1986.
And here among the ruins of West Beirut lies perhaps the most poignant testimony to the tragedy of the Lebanon, poking pathetically through the rubble, a child's teddy bear.
And now March 1989.
and buried inside the remnants of this hospital, devastated by the earthquake. A sad symbol of tragedy, a child's teddy bear.
And finally, last month,
A sad trail of destruction. And among the wreckage, a grim reminder of the human cost of this air crash.
hand it over.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hand it over.
There we are. There we are. I mean, it's becoming more and more difficult with the rise of AI, and of course, we saw Jeremy Bowen hilariously get caught out in Ukraine, where he was hiding behind this hill, and then suddenly a woman come past walking her dog, hiding from the shelling. It is becoming more and more difficult with AI videos to actually get to the truth, isn't it? AI is being used for nefarious purposes, as we always thought it would.
Well, AI just shows us what can be unburdened by what has been. That was my idea.
Gordon, your thoughts on this? Is it becoming more difficult for us news hounds to get to the truth now?
I forget who said it. I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson who said it. He said we are moving into an era of a post-truth world, where nobody's going to know what the truth is, and we can't discern what is real from what is fake. And we're so close to it now that it's not going to be that long, I think, until we're not going to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah,
we're already for the general public. We're already there. The general public, we're already there. And I have myself been fooled by stuff. There was a speech by Joe Biden, which seemed to be endorsing Donald Trump. It turned out to be fake.
Yes.
But the reason I believed it was because Joe Biden actually said, it's not exactly a quote, very close. He said, in Biden's America, we got this idea. It's got this idea that there's a glass ceiling for poor kids. Can't get past the glass ceiling. Well, I can tell you, poor kids are just bright and just as full of potential as white kids. He actually said that.
Yeah.
And that wasn't AI. Actually,
No.
I run a series called Poor Kids and White Kids. So that's the problem. We've got a double problem here, guys. We've got the capacity of AI to make people look stupid, but we've got an even bigger capacity of our fourth division politicians to do it for themselves.
Yeah, exactly that. It's going to be very difficult to try and find out who's doing what. I'm going to leave the last word tonight with Berenson, who is the foreign minister for the Netherlands. Have a listen to this.
I don't foresee a solution today, but in the interest of the Netherlands, we try to keep on pressuring Hungary to agree with the package, because we believe that keep pressuring Russia is, in the essence, the most important thing we can do.
Oh, there we go. More sanctions, gentlemen. The 21st package of sanctions. As the first 20 didn't work, Gordon Dimmock, the 21st is bound to, isn't it?
Yeah. It's 21 times a charm is the saying. The 21st round of sanctions, I think they're going to be the round that really do hit the Russian economy hard. And, I mean, you've got the situation now where Russia's oil is now 20-25% dearer than it was a few weeks ago, because now, all of a sudden they're off the sanctions list, and they can start selling oil to people to fill in the gap from the stuff that's not being sent through the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, Russia must be laughing at the West as to what has happened here with the Ukraine, because every step of the way, it's like, we're going to do this to them. We're going to make their economy scream, and their economy's been fine. And it's the Western economies that are struggling through all this.
Yeah.
And Russia must really be laughing at the at well, I'm trying to think of the right word. It's incompetence, isn't it, of the West in thinking that they could strangle the Russian economy like this. It really has backfired incredibly on them.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Given that France and Macron came out and said we must keep up the pressure on with the sanctions and everything else, and they are the fourth biggest exporter of Russian LNG under the table, Lembit, this is going nowhere, is it?
Is that actually? Is that actually a fact?
Yes, it's actually a fact. I've proven it on at least 3 occasions.
All right. Well, in that case, yes. The problem with the French is they kind of know which side of their bread is buttered on, and it's written in Cyrillic because they make a huge amount of pragmatic profit there in that case. But there's a deeper point, and this is a scoop you wouldn't have expected on the show so near the end. Russia's not going to invade France. It's not going to invade Poland. It's not coming to Britain. Imagine the last thing Putin needs is to fix Britain on top of all the other problems he's got. The reality here is that people see Reds under their bed, which is the one conspiracy which isn't true. And since all of the spy networks infiltrate each other, which I think is a good thing because it takes away the element of surprise, all Macron has done is prove that the French are as pragmatic as ever. Now, long may that part last. May he have a happy and peaceful retirement with his, let's call the other one his partner. And let's just hope he doesn't make things worse in the Middle East in the meantime.
Yeah, I'm with Mark. I'm with Spike Milligan on that one, where he turned around and said, "Why don't we all just tell each other the truth? Then we don't need to spy on each other." The other thing that Lembit mentioned there, written in Cyrillic. Well, probably the French will write that on a white flag and then wave it above their heads. Gordon, where can people find you on your social media?
I'm at Gordon Dimmock on Twitter and gordondimmock.com. Those are the two platforms that I publish on now.
Fantastic. Please go, if you are watching the show, please go and give Gordon a follow. Go and give him a few likes. Lembit Opik, where can people find you?
There's a clue in about a thing above my head at Lembit Opik. That is my X-Free Twitter handle, I think they call it. And please join the 28,000 people who've very kindly already done that. And also go to @Unprecedented TV on YouTube. It's a free subscription. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes 30 seconds. And you'll find over 800 archived shows already. A whole pile of shows every week. And you'll be glad to know we're just about to maybe allow some other of the great presenters out there, people like you, Gordon, to take some space on our station. But that's for the future. Very near future,
well,
but for the future all the same.
If I get to hear more of your excellent impressions, Lembit, you can guarantee I will do.
Well, the answer's literally blowing in the wind.
Absolutely fantastic.
Let's hear somebody do.
You're so talented.
Let's hear somebody do. Let's hear somebody.
That was Jeremy Corbyn. What do you mean?
Let's hear somebody do an impression of Sean Murphy. Sean.
Well, Warren, I think they're not going to use Cyrillics on the on that white flag of Macron's, but they will be, I believe, using French letters.
Well, you never know. Maybe they can post one home to mother. Thank you very much for watching the show. Gordon, thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us for the whole show. Much appreciated. And please don't be a stranger. Do come back and see us very shortly. Lembit, once again, as always, thank you very much for coming and appearing on the show. Lembit was a surprise guest. We didn't know he was going to pop up, but always welcome on the show.
Nor did I.
More than welcome, gentlemen, to pop in at any time. But for the time being, we have run out of time. So it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me and... Goodbye.